Good afternoon, Mark. I hope this video finds you well. So, I left my good deck at work, the deck that I typically use. I have a ton of them, so I'm going to use a different one today. I'm going to try, this one doesn't have the same pictorial key, so I'm going to explain these cards as thoroughly as I can without having the pictures on hand. There are some photos in the in the deck, but not all of the cards have like the same pictures. Like in the first 21 cards are illustrated, and so are the suits, like the page, knight, queen, and king, just like the typical deck. But the pip cards, so ace through 10, are not illustrated. It's a remake of like an older deck that's older than the deck that I typically use, which is the Rider-Waite deck. But it should read about the same, and I know how to read them well enough that I don't necessarily need the pictorial key. Alright, so I'm going to try my best to relate this reading to business for you, but like always, other things may pop up in the reading, so I'm going to include as much information for you as I can. Alright, so card number 1 is the Nine of Cups. So essentially what the Nine of Cups represents is gratitude, and also like emotional fulfillment, or like how we should feel prior to reaching a state of emotional fulfillment and contentment. And that should be gratitude for all the good things that have happened up until now. If that's not what you're experiencing or what you're feeling currently, then I think that that's something that we need to look at, because in order to bring new good things, be the material or emotional or whatever, like in order to bring new things into our life that are of value, we have to exercise gratitude for the things that we already have. The next card that I've drawn for you is the Knight of Swords in reverse. So swords represent logic and intellect, and like the transference of information, the transference of ideas. Now, these are ideas that are devoid of emotions, so like the science of the matter, the fact of the matter. And when I draw the Knight of Swords in reverse, so knights typically represent action, but the Knight of Swords in reverse would represent like hasty action. I see this as someone who's feels called or feels pressured, more correctly, to take action on something. They're pressured by some sort of external like a source to make some sort of decision based on a small amount of information, and this information is likely incomplete. And the best advice that I could give when I draw the Knight of Swords reverse is to slow down a little bit and wait to see how things unfold, because it's unlikely that we have the correct amount of information to make a decision. That's how a lot of swords cards read in reverse, and they're usually high pressure situations too that involve like a lot of like stress and anxiety. I think that would be the overall tone for the suit of swords. The next card that I've drawn is the King of Swords, actually. So the King of Swords represents it's like a mastery of logic and intellect. The King of Swords is someone who's well put together, very, very intelligent and intellectual, very powerful, but they have all of the information, and they're able to cast judgment on a particular situation based on all of the facts at hand, and they're also able to separate themselves from situations too. And this is the King of Swords defining characteristic. He's able to fully separate himself from the situation and look at things from a holistic and third-party perspective and see things with clarity and make a decision based on that. So his emotions are not invested into it, or if they are invested into this particular situation, he's able to subtract them from the situation and make the necessary action without being clouded by, without having emotion clouding his judgment. The next card that I've drawn for you is the Five of Wands. So the Five of Wands is like a petty squabble. So this is something that you feel passionately about one way, and other people around you, they feel passionate about the same thing, but perhaps in a different way. And this is going to make you feel called to defend your point of view, or defend the way that you feel, or defend your standpoint in this particular situation. And the best way, like, nobody wins these. They're very subjective types of arguments and types of squabbles. It's a matter of values rather than a matter of fact. And I would say this: wands are fire energy, which fan the. It's like wands are fire energy. They burn quickly. They're hot. They represent the things that we can sense that we can't necessarily touch, like the things that we feel intrinsically or intuitively, more correctly, drawn to. But this is something that we feel strongly about, and other people do too, and we're called to kind of defend our point of view. Now, I drew this card in the face-up position. So how I would read that is, like, you're going to be able to point out this situation and recognize what it is right now. And the idiom that I send home with this is, if you get in the mud with the pig, you're going to get dirty. So you just want to avoid this situation entirely. Don't let somebody bait you into something, an argument. Okay. The next card that I've drawn is the King of Cups. So we got two kings here so far. That's good, and they're both in the face-up position here. So the King of Cups, he's like the king of emotions. So he's able to control others through his emotions, and he sees things through a very emotional perspective. And that's not that he doesn't have the logic to make proper decisions, but he's better able to empathize and understand the people around him and see things from the way that other people look at things, because people are typically like there's nobody who plays the role of like a king of swords perfectly. We're imperfect humans, and we operate from a position of utilizing all of the suits of tarot, which would represent like earth and material energy, emotional energy, passion, and also logical energy as well. So the King of Cups represents the mastery of emotional energy and being able to see things not necessarily objectively, but being able to see things from a perfect subjective position. So with all of these kings that I'm drawing here for you, that leads me to believe that you're in a position of power over your situation right now. Your apartment situation or your business situation. You're in a position of power, and you're going to have the judgment and perhaps the ability to mediate people that operate on different wavelengths, more logical people and more emotionally driven people as well. The next card I've drawn for you is the Six of Cups in reverse. So the Six of Cups in reverse, essentially so in its face-up position, this card would represent nostalgia. And to apply the principles of like nostalgia to a economic situation or a like fiscal, like material situation, this would be like something that we've done in the past that's comfortable for us and fun for us, and like is like, okay, this has worked for us in the past, and we feel some type of emotional connection to that. This card would encourage you to stay away from that type of thinking, and that just because it's worked in the past doesn't mean it's going to work every single time, and we may need to look at things from a more we need to move forward and look at things from a more futuristic perspective. And another thing that with that card, so nostalgia, when I draw this card for somebody who wants a general reading or a love reading or something outside of just finances, when I draw the Six of Cups, like the reading, like I ask them, what's the difference between, or what's like the reversed meaning of nostalgia? And after thinking about that for a little bit, the only thing that I can think of is trauma, because they both invoke a visceral response. Like we can feel like nostalgia in a very, very like almost euphoric but melancholy type way, where trauma does kind of the opposite of that. It makes our heart beat fast, and it makes us feel feelings of like anger and resentment, and sometimes we don't always recognize where that's coming from. We want to stay away from all of that. All right, next card that I'm drawing for you is the Seven of Cups in reverse. So again, these cups cards in reverse, this represents walking away from something, leaving something in behind that's no longer good for us. And we're going to be able to, we should be able to recognize that, and we might actually struggle with recognizing that right away. So you're going to have to take a step back and again play the role of King of Swords in that position, and be able to see things through like a more logical perspective. I'm thinking that that's kind of going to be the trend here, is like in your endeavors coming up for the next several months here, there's going to be a lot that's going to draw you in emotionally and try to bait you into making thinking with your emotional brain rather than your logical brain, and we really need to balance those two things out. Okay, the next card that I've drawn for you is the Emperor. This is a card of the Major Arcana. The Emperor is actually very similar to any other king in the deck, but what this represents is there's the Emperor and the Empress. They represent two different types of leadership. So the Empress leads by emotion and nurture and doing things with a soft hand, where the Emperor leads things with like an iron fist. And not necessarily an iron fist, but he's like a more forceful in his way of doing things and being able to be that leader and be firm and be steady and be the type of person that people want to follow or need to follow. When I draw it in reverse, it's kind of the opposite qualities of that, but it's like somebody that we can trust and rely on to do the right thing consistently over and over again. And all of this king-like energy is really where we're going to have to be. All right, finally, I've drawn the Sun card for you. This is a good one to end it on. So the Sun card represents like renewal and bringing things in, new things growing and blossoming. The take home from this reading is really to set the emotions aside, being able to recognize when other people are making emotionally driven decisions, and setting your emotions aside and seeing things logically, but being able to see things logically and have the field vision to be able to not necessarily predict the future, but wait out the future a little bit and see how things unfold and how things unravel, rather than like acting like hastily. We don't want to be the Knight of Swords. We want to be like the King of Swords and the King of Cups, and all that kingly energy is really where we need to be. Those are the most important cards that I've drawn for you. I guess we'll give you one more just as a take home here too. I've drawn the Empress. Okay, lots of leadership, lots of leadership here, but again, like the Empress and the Emperor is like the difference between the King of Swords and the Knight of Swords. So I've noticed this, that with a lot of the readings that I do, the cards kind of start repeating themselves in a lot of ways once I draw them out. So this is leading with emotions, and this is leading with logic. Now we have to balance those things out and be able to recognize more so how to utilize emotions and recognize the emotive situations, because I feel like that's going to be the only potential pitfall that you could have is like a emotively driven action. I hope this is helpful to you. Thank you so much for your business, and I wish you all the best.